you're wondering how I've done since the once in a 100-year catastrophe that we had here, which was the biggest flood that most of the people living here have experienced, and I'm talking even the elderly. This is the biggest flood that that they've experienced, that anyone's experienced. So I only got power back yesterday. So that's since what? Since the 2nd of Feb. So for a month. Essentially, I did it. I was without power for a month. It's only in the last 2 weeks that I've been at home, and I've been running off a generator, and I'm going to do a review of that generator because that thing was fantastic. And the brand starts with H, so you probably know which which brand I'm talking about. It might sound a little bit funny because I've got a little bit of, I don't know, something going on in my throat. But anyway, I'm celebrating because I got power back. Yippee! My junction box, my power board, whatever you want to call it, switchboard, it got wiped out, and it had to be replaced. Now, there was some issues with me getting power back because the electricians, so the insurance, you know what, CGU Insurance and NRMA, who own CGU Insurance, thank you very much. They came to me, all right, I had my local electrician, I've probably always said this before, I had my local electrician have a look at it, and he just wrote it off and said, look, I don't know when I can come here and replace it and whatnot, I've got no idea. So I was like, oh. So that night, you know, going to sleep with the humming of the generator, pardon me. Next day, the insurance company, one of the representatives for the insurance company came along and he said, mate, you look like you need help, you've got a policy with us, let's see what we can do. So pretty much in a couple of days later, the electricians turned up and started. They had that because the old board had hung down from underneath the house. You're not allowed to have that. That's against the law these days. It has to be on the perimeter of the house, somewhere outside. So they moved it to the front and outside. They actually moved it lower. So now, if that flood happened again, my power box would be that deep in water. But it is what it is. So yeah, it's only yesterday that I got power. Well, Thursday I got power, so I've had power for 2 days. If you can hear it humming, it's something that I'm just about to review as well, but I'm going to review this saw first. But anyway, my front fence is like that. It's been completely laid down. My rear fence is virtually non-existent, and my this side fence behind me is also pushed over. But the rear and the side, you know, that's going to be a bit of a, you know, mission, getting the owners of those two places to pitch in 50% to get new fences put up, whether they want to or not, I don't know. It doesn't really bother me. They're not over. They've been pushed over a little bit, but they're not totally written off. Whereas my front fence is. I'm not going to provide you with pictures or gory details, but anyway, so I finally got power 2 days ago, so I'm celebrating. I'm having an Emu Export, a West Australian beer. So cheers. Oh yeah, and to almost make matters worse, we had a massive, what is it, a Cat 4 now, cyclone off the coast. Luckily it's moving south. It's still pretty far away from the coast and moving south. It's probably going to landfall next week sometime, but not near us. Thank God. Thank God. Anyway, enough of that. So I'm well, I'm happy, I've got power. That's all I care. Oh yeah, and my hot water service got knocked out too, so I'm just waiting for the plumbers to construct a stand for it, because it was sitting up about 2 feet off the ground, but it was a pretty dodgy affair. So they said, nah, we're not going to mount another one on that, and we'll have to make a stand. So, but I don't care, because I don't know if you can see how much I'm sweating. It's bloody hot. Now the sun has been out full bore for a few days. Yeah, it's stinking hot, and everything hasn't dried out completely, but mostly. And thankfully, the mosquitoes are still. Whenever there's a massive flood, the mosquitoes all get wiped out. They get drowned, like literally. So that's pretty good. But they'll be back. So anyway, I want to talk about this saw. a review of this saw. After having it for some time now and after using it a fair bit, I would like to say that this is one of my favourite saws. It's quite light. It's only 50 cc's. It's the Farmertec Farmertec G260, which is a copy of the Stihl MS260. Now, pardon me, just burping from beer. So, if you watch my previous videos regarding this saw, you will know that I had serious issues with it. And when I say serious issues, I mean the carby. So when I first got it, you know, I took it downstairs. You'll see, if you watch my previous video, you'll see that I had an absolute nightmare getting it to work. Well, I ended up getting a carby from Carby Doctor. So it's not an OEM Walbro 194T like it should be, which is probably half the price of this saw. So it sort of defeats the purpose of buying a cheap saw if you buy a replacement carby that costs half the price of the saw. Where, you know, so the biggest investment you've got in the saw is the carby. So I've got a replacement carby, just Chinese copy of the Walbro from Carby Doctor. The Carby Doctor, the carbies that he supplies, he's down in Melbourne, seem to be good. Generally speaking, they seem to be good. My local bike shop, which is they're a Husqvarna dealer, but I tried to get them to get a Walbro, and they ended up getting a carby from Carby Doctor, and I said I don't know exactly what that is because I've already got one, and I've already got it in the saw. So yeah, that's another story. So I had to throw that carby away, the original carby that was in this. It was just a piece of shit, which, yeah, what can I say? It was a piece of garbage, it just wouldn't work. After having put the Carby Doctor's carby in, not a problem. What other issues did I have? This screw, so this top cover, it's got a captive alloy nut in here that you use a flat screwdriver to do an undo, to take the cover off. There's a stud that's in the cylinder head, well, it's in the cylinder, top of the cylinder. That was all chewed up, so I ended up taking it off and cleaning it up with a tap and a die, the nut and the stud. What else? It does come with a decompression valve. I got rid of that and I put a plug in there. It's 50 cc's. I mean, yeah, it's got plenty of compression, but it's not that bad. All right? Not for me anyway. I'm not at that age yet where I can't pull over a 50 cc saw without decompression valve. What other issues did I have? I had to replace the oil cap with an OEM oil cap because... Was the oil cap or the fuel cap? It was the oil cap, I think. Can't remember now. I think it was the oil cap. I had to replace it with another one because that original one was leaking. But it wasn't. I think it was a fault in the casting, in the thread. It's a cast thread, you know, obviously, because it's two magnesium halves, which comes into which I will mention why I like this saw so much. So one thing I did to it, you know, most two-stroke equipment is very choked. And when I mean choked, I don't mean like the started choke, you know, on the carby. I mean airflow, okay, airflow. So I did change the air filter for an OEM Stihl air filter, because the air filter that came with it was this, it was just a cheap piece of garbage, plastic garbage, and it had no flock in it or anything, whereas the proper OEM filter is flocked. So what I did, if you can see what that thing is, that's a West Coast saw, what do they call it? The universal port. So because luckily this is a two-piece, it's a two-piece muffler, so you can unscrew the front, and I cut a rectangular slot in the top, mounted that on there, and Yeah, I'll show you some of the issues that I had with the system they have for mounting that. So I'll show you that now. Okay, so it would appear that the MS260 was leaking out of the exhaust. Just trying to pick up my rule. And from the tiny little, I mean where is it? That's the gasket, and it looks like it's made out of a Coke can. It is super thin. I'm trying to get an angle where you can pick up where it was definitely leaking. Right there, where the internal box, there's a box in there. The internal box was spot welded. There's a low spot right there. And it definitely would have been, I'm trying to get it so I can focus. And there you go, there's a good view. See how it's, where the gasket was contacting, it's all shiny, and there's a dull spot right there. So it was, definitely would have been leaking out of there, at that spot. But I'm going to stick some of that stuff all around both sides of the gasket so that it doesn't leak. Big gap. Don't like that. Okay. After my sealing job, go on, focus. You can't see it very well, but I'm trying to. So you can see no daylight. I'm trying to get it focused. There we go. Focus. Yeah. No daylight at all. Anywhere. Alright. No daylight. Which is, focus, not the case before. Okay, so you saw that. So those special nuts, those riv nuts or whatever you call them, they do leave a gap. And I had an issue with that, so I did seal it up. I did seal that gap up all the way around. There is a spark screen, so yeah, it complies. I've just given this a really good clean. I haven't used it for a while, but I've given it a really good clean. And so this is a 20-inch bar. I could quite easily, and these big dogs, so I put them on there as well. They're a replacement as well. Also, the handle is they call it, it's not a full wrap, they call it a 3/4 wrap handle. So I got that from Holtzform and Farmertec as well. But if you go on their site and you want a full wrap handle, a 3/4 wrap handle for an MS2, one of their 260s or an MS260, you've got to look under MS440, because the MS440 and the MS260 must have exactly the same chassis, because yeah, this is a 440 handle. It's not you won't see any handles, any full wrap handles or 3/4 wrap handles for an MS260 on their website, but they do have them for the MS440. Sorry, I'm getting a dry throat. Talking too much. So, I've just given this a really good clean. Now, I haven't started this for, yeah, I don't know, probably 3 months. So, I don't empty the fuel out of my saws. And I know that people out there will be saying, no, you should empty the fuel out of your saws and cycle all the fuel out of them and keep the system dry, and you know, don't have that fuel in there because it'll go stale. Look, I don't know what the go is, but I use the highest octane fuel that I can get, which is usually 98 octane fuel, at a minimum 95, but for the 2-stroke, it smells like fuel. So it's been in there for 3 months, and they say, oh, after a few weeks it spoils, it does this, it does that. Look, personally, my experience is that's a load of bullshit. 98 octane fuel does not spoil. Yeah, like that generator, when I came home, when I eventually came home, yeah, this place was still a little bit underwater, about that far underwater. So I had a generator upstairs with the arse poking out the front door so that I wouldn't suffocate. And I actually found a fuel jerry, a 10-litre fuel jerry that had floated out to my backyard. And that fuel would have been at least 5 years old, at least. And you know what? I opened it up, I had a sniff, smells like petrol or gasoline. And I put that in that generator and away she went. Not a problem. Never skipped a beat. So this malarkey about, you know, fuel going stale, what you're talking about, I think, is ethanol fuel or low octane fuel. I don't know, but as far as 98 octane fuel or even 95 octane fuel, but definitely 98 octane fuel, it doesn't go off. It just doesn't. Okay, sorry. For all those people who get it, I don't care if a physicist or a scientist or a petroleum engineer or whatever come along and say, no, you're wrong, fuel goes off. Well, it doesn't, because, you know, I quite literally use stale fuel, or what's called stale fuel, all the time, all the time. So this fuel in here has been in here for at least 3 months. I haven't started it, so I'll show you. If I can touch that muffler, yeah, it's not warm. I haven't got my thing out to prove it, but I haven't started this in God knows how long. So I'm probably going to be proved an idiot, because the thing probably won't start or I'll flood it or something. I don't know. Let's see what happens. So I don't want to flood it. It has been. There you go. So we'll put it to run. That's off. That's run. Come on. What? These switches are a real. Let's choke off. Let's run there. Well, half choke, I think. I think I'm flooding it. These switches are an absolute mongrel. Is that off? There you go. That's one thing I don't like. Another thing I don't like about stills is the switches, the starting switches, the choke starting switch. That's what I like about Husqvarna. The choke is a separate unit. It's a separate switch. It's not a part of the starting switch. Because, and you'll probably, if you go on YouTube and just, you know, or type in problem flooding stills flooding, steel chainsaws flooding, there'll probably be a heap of stuff on there because they are really, really easy to flood. Much easier than the Husqvarnas. But there you go. So, you know, I have not started that saw in a long time. One thing about these saws is that chain is probably too tight. I did tighten it too much. I had it too loose and then it went tight. So that's too tight. I could quite easily put change this over to a 3/8. It's a 325 pitch chain. I could quite easily change that over to a 3/8 and have a 24-inch bar on it. Not a problem, because this thing oils like a maniac. It really does. So the biggest issue with, one of the big issues with putting really big bars on saws is, can the oiling system pump enough oil to lubricate a long bar? All right, can it get oil all the way out there? That's probably the biggest issue in my mind. To my mind, this thing oils like a nutcase. All right, because I think, because it's the same chassis as far as I know as the 440. If the same handle fits it, then I'm assuming it's the same chassis, just with a different size cylinder or different bore. So I don't know, someone out there might be able to tell me, is everything except the bore size of these things a 440? I don't know. But it is a 50cc, it's a 42 centimetre or 42 millimetre bore, I believe, piston. You can get 44 millimetre, and you can get pop-up piston. You can get whatever you want. In fact, Holt's Farmertec sells them out the wazoo. So this chain I did put on too tight, but you saw that it started no problems. Yeah, I did have a little problem starting it. Yeah, but you know what? I probably could have started it without even having the choke on. It probably would have primed up and gone fine without the choke on. But yeah, having sat there for like 3 months, you probably need a choke. But yeah, so this is that horrible stale fuel that isn't supposed to wreck your saw and whatnot, wreck your carby and your fuel system. But you saw that runs fine. All right, Scott from Dirty Shop Rag, Greasy Shop Rag. So if you haven't watched Scott at Greasy Shop Rag, the Greasy Shop Rag, that's the YouTube channel. Watch him. I have learnt more from that guy than every other chainsaw channel that I've ever watched. As far as maintenance, repair, diagnosis of problems with chainsaws, he's the man, without a doubt. Way to go, Scott. You're the man. If he's watching this, he would have noticed that the chain, during idle, the chain was still creeping a little bit. Yeah, I know. I've got to grind that clutch just a wee tad more, just a bee's dick more, as we say here in Australia. And yeah, that chain won't creep, because I think if I loosen that chain off like I'm supposed to, because that's too tight, it probably will creep a little bit more. But anyway, okay, so one of the main reasons, as far as 50cc and below chainsaws is concerned, they're out of stock. Holt's Farmertec are out of stock of these things, the G260. As soon as they have them back in stock, I'm buying another one. Because the reason why I like this, as far as a small saw is concerned, see that? See that split in the case? You know what that means? It means that it is a conventional type of saw. It is not what they call a clamshell. So a clamshell is essentially just all plastic with a cylinder and crankcase that's just essentially one unit. It does split in two, but it's essentially one unit, and it just bolts onto the plastic. All right. This is not. The crankcase and the cylinder are totally separate affairs. It's probably getting a little bit technical, but if you know anything about chainsaws, you know what I'm talking about. I don't like clamshells. It's a cheap way of making something. Clamshells, you're essentially looking at things like, the 255 and Husqvarna 455 Ranchers and 450s and those things. They're all clamshells, just cheap plastic. I don't like clamshells. All right. This is a 50cc saw. It's a conventional crankcase, two-piece affair that bolt together. Magnesium. I'm assuming it's magnesium. And as far as I'm concerned, metal and magnesium, all right. There is one advantage to clamshell saws,
they are
and
lighter.
that is, they are, because they're so much more plastic. All right, you don't have a magnesium crankcase, big crankcase. All right, it's all plastic. All right, with the The cylinder and crankcase is a unit in itself. It does come apart at the bottom, but I don't like clamshells, so yeah, okay. So I love this saw, the Holtz former Farmertec G260. As soon as they have them back in stock, like I said, I'm just going to let these nuts off because yeah, that chain's tight. And if I'm not using a saw, this is what everyone should do, is loosen the nuts, take the tension off, a few turns, so it's loose, push that thing back, alright, so that it's loose, so that you are not leaving pressure or putting pressure on, oops, I'll get that over here, on the bearing, the what's it called, bearing, the crank bearing, the PTO, on the PTO side where the chain is. You're not putting pressure on it. Now I've got, oh, this is all dirty. I need to do something. So I am still working on my G260. So I'll show you what I'm doing with that in a second. Sorry, getting off picture. Alright, I'm back. Just getting another EBU export. It's stinking hot. I mowed the lawn. I whippersnippered or weed whacked the front and where the house is and mowed around there because by golly, it is hot. So yeah. And then I cleaned that chainsaw because I haven't had a chance to clean it because I haven't had, well, my compressor, I don't know, it's probably somewhere near the reef because yeah, it floated away. It's one of the other things that I lost. Now I'm going to do a review of this. So I'll just unplug it. So I had it plugged into 240 and it is this thing, the Pinnacle. The paperwork in here? No. Hang on. I'll just get the paperwork. So I've already lost the paperwork. Sorry, but so it's a Pinnacle. It's Pinnacle brand. I bought it yesterday from a department store here in Queensland, Big W, which is the department store that the Woolworths chain of stores has. So I'll just open it up. So I've had it running overnight and most of today just to see how cold it gets. It's not a freezer, so I left a bag of water in there just see how cold I could get it. So it's at, what's it at? It is at, yeah, alright, about 14 degrees Celsius. Alright, so it doesn't freeze, it's not a freezer, but it keeps things cool. Alright, and you have the option of DC 12 volt. I'll show you. You have the option of DC 12 volt or AC 240. You've also got a USB port, so you can run a USB charger off it to charge something, and you've also got a C-type here. Now, it's double function. You can have it hot and you can have it cold. So you can have it cooling or you can have it heating. Now, 14 degrees Celsius, considering that it's about, I don't know, 34 degrees, so you're looking at a reduction of about 20 degrees of ambient temperature, which isn't bad. Now you might say, wow, that's crap, you know, I've got a unit that freezes, you know, it's a fridge freezer, it freezes, blah 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 blah. Yeah, alright, what did it cost? So this is 30 litres, this is a 30 litre unit. Now, in Woolworths, my local Woolworths, a 24 litre cooler, Willow cooler, which doesn't have any mechanical any refrigerative function or heating function or anything at all is $44. All right, so that's a 24 litre for $44, and all it is just a straight cooler. It's just a body and a lid, and that's it. And you have to put ice or ice blocks or whatever in it. This thing will keep your food cool or keep your food warm. I don't know, I'm not interested in the warmer, in the heater. I'm only interested in the cooler. But now I know that it will go down to, and like if the ambient temperature, I'm pretty sure like if I measured this temperature of this thing during the night, like in the middle of the night, it would have been cooler. Probably would have been about 10 degrees. So I'm just going to leave it open, let it air out. Oh. So what I will say is this. So guess how much it cost? No, it's not a it is a refrigerator, but it doesn't freeze. It doesn't go down to zero or just above zero. Probably goes down about 10 degrees centigrade Celsius. All right. Guess how much it cost? $50. $50. Yes, that's right. When I bought it, I had no idea just how much value it is. $50. So I'll show it to you again. So I think it is on special. I did buy it on special. So it's 30 litre Pinnacle heater cooler. So if you know, the way that I look at it, it's perfect for if you're going somewhere, say on a day trip, and you have some food and you want to keep it cool. You don't want to freeze it. You don't want it ridiculously cold. And it does say in the instructions. I lost the instructions. Yeah, I don't know where I put them. It does say it's preferable if you put food that's already chilled in there. Yeah, of course that's going to be advantageous. But 30 litres for $50, and it's a refrigerator and heater. I don't think you can beat that. I really don't. So if you're looking for something like that, it's really good for, say, if you're going out on a picnic, with your car. If you're looking for a really good deal on something that's going to keep your food cold, go out to Big W, see if they've got a Pinnacle. Let me see, what is it? So Pinnacle Tokyo Plast, made in India. All right, it's made in India, and it's got nothing else on it. If you're looking for something to keep your food cool and at a ridiculously low price, $50. So I've got a refrigerator freezer that I bought for my car. Like that's $500, right? So and that's 50 litre. So man, that's a bargain. So the Pinnacle, go to Big W, go to the outdoor section or the camping section, whatever it is, where the coolers are, where the water coolers and that are, and have a look, because for $50, even if it didn't do anything other than just serve as an ice box without any mechanical function, it's still worth $50, no doubt about it. So that's all I have to report at the moment. Next I'm going to be working on my G260, which is an MS361 clone. I've got to put the muffler back together after I've gutted it. After I have gutted it. So I did gut it. In actual fact, it had bugger all in it. But yeah, I'm going to do a bit of surgery. I have got another what's it called? Another West Coast Saw universal port, and I am going to, here it is. I am going to put that, so it's like, I'm going to put that on the side, like that, cut a hole, put it on the side, so they can breathe more. Most two-strokes, they need to breathe more. I got that from West Coast Saw in the United States. They're fantastic. They always send you a West Coast Saw sticker. One thing about these West Coast Saw stickers is that, so what do I wash my chainsaws with? I wash them with gasoline, petrol, what we call. Now, their stickers do not come off very easily. So there's a West Coast Saw sticker on there, same as this one, and it doesn't come off with petrol or brake cleaner, because I also wash it down with brake cleaner afterwards. So these West Coast Saw stickers, excellent. Gordy at West Coast Saw, you make fantastic. I don't know who makes your stickers, but yeah, they really do last. So I've got another universal port to put on here. I've got a fair bit of West Coast Saw stuff. Their delivery is extremely prompt. It's reasonably priced, and their gear, the stuff they make is really, really good. Excellent. If you haven't dealt with West Coast Saw before, go on their website and have a look at their stuff. They've got a lot of interesting stuff and good stuff, really, really good stuff. So, and they've also got a YouTube channel, West Coast Saw YouTube channel. Definitely watch them, West Coast Saw. Gordy, you're the man. And also Scott, and the channel is The Greasy Shop Rag. So Scott at The Greasy Shop Rag, you're the man too. Alright, so that's all I have to report. Until then, see you later.